Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Dogger Football Channel. Welcome to another season review, and this time it is one of the stories of the 22-23 Premier League season. Newcastle United are back in the big time. They are finished in the top four, and they're back in the Champions League. I'm talking all things Newcastle, and I would imagine that he'll be smiling as much as a Cheshire cat as Mr. Paul Ditchburn from the Toon Review. How are you, mate?
I'm good, mate. Thanks for having us on. Pretty good summing up of the season that was, yeah.
Yes, absolutely indeed. We will get into it because it has been a fabulous season for the Magpie.
Yeah.
But I do like to start these with some quick fire questions.
Mm-hmm.
So, favorite current player in this Newcastle United side?
100% Joe Linton. I slagged this guy off, man, for 2 years on the channel, and I always hoped in the back of my mind that he'd eventually throw egg in my face and many other Newcastle fans' faces, and boy, has he done that. Totally changed his career around since moving position, and he's just a beast. A lot of people would say like Bruno, etc., but not Joe Linton for me is just a fabulous story, and the fact that he's now got into the Brazil squad just tops it off.
Yeah, one of the most improved players as well, because I remember people sort of slagged him off when he was obviously a number 9, but going into the midfield, he's been fabulous.
I don't think he's ever been a number 9, mate, to be honest. I think it's he's found his calling under Eddie Howe, and I think moving back into midfield was just a fantastic moment for him because he's gone on from strength to strength since then.
Yeah, absolutely. Player of the season this season for Newcastle.
Oh, Christ. Wow. There's been a few standouts, but you know what? I'm probably going to go against the grain again. Bruno's been fantastic, but for me, Fabian Schär, he's also another story, completely left out by Steve Bruce. Everybody was saying, it's not when he's going to leave, it's how soon he's going to leave. And again, just built a tremendous partnership with Botman over the season, best defensive record in the league, etc. And he's a warrior. He may not be the best centre-back in the world, but for me, he's been outstanding this season again. I mean, there's been so many, but for me, Fabian Schär stands out again, just because of he's just incredible. You think he gets knocked out on the pitch. He's just so many head injuries. He gets up, he gets on. And he's provided some brilliant passes for goals this season as well, which I think people forget. So for me, Fabian Schär.
Yeah, I remember that goal he scored against Nottingham Forest on the opening day of the season. And I didn't think he could strike them, but my goodness me, he could. And I have to say he has been fabulous. But you could pick from, I think, 7, 8, 9.
God, yeah, without a doubt.
There's loads to pick from.
Sean Longstaff, he was getting written off by everybody, including, again, myself. He's proved everybody wrong and really worked well under Eddie Howe. Botman's been a fantastic signing. Bruno, as I've mentioned. Miggy Almiron in stages during the season. He's been great. Isak's just been an incredible acquisition. Nick Pope as well. 10 million quid for an England goalkeeper. Brilliant signing. They've all been fabulous, don't get me wrong. But for me, I like to look deeper and think not just the standout names. You look at the deliveries from Fabian Schär, not just the goal he scored against Forest. The ball he played for Joe Linton against West Ham away, against Tottenham at home. Some of the passing has been brilliant, and I think that gets a little bit forgotten when the bigger names kind of take the headlines.
Absolutely. And the final one is going to be a very, very difficult question. What is the best goal Newcastle United have scored this season?
I had a feeling this one was coming. Do you know what it is? I mean, people are looking at the goals that Miggy scored. There's been some crackers. You look at the one at Fulham. That volley was brilliant. You look at the one he scored away at Tottenham. That was superb as well. But for me, it has to be the goal we scored at Everton. The run from Isak. I mean, yes, it was a simple tap in for Jacob Murphy, but it was the build-up to that goal. Isak got that on the halfway line, took it into the corner, then skipped past about 4 or 5 Everton players. Incredible close skill. before setting the goal up. I mean, that one will not be forgotten for me.
That was absolutely amazing. I have to say, Isak has been a fantastic signing. I remember when you guys brought him in. I remember watching a lot of sort of La Liga, and I watched a lot of Real Sociedad, and one of the key players in that team was Alexander Isak, and I thought that he's definitely destined for the Premier League. So when you guys bought him, I thought, yeah, this is going to be a very, very good player. But that goal at Everton was
a lot of people
unbelievable.
Yeah, a lot of people were unsure of the obviously £60 million price tag. He's not been a prolific goal scorer, but he brings so much more to the table than being a prolific goal scorer. Towards the end of the season, Eddie played him on the left and played Callum Wilson through the middle. He can do that. He can cut in, which he did for Sociedad a lot. He used to cut in and fire a shot from the side. So it worked. I prefer him through the middle, if I'm honest. I think he gives a lot more up front, but you know what, 60 million quid, it seems like a bargain now because he got injured at the start of the season. So his campaign didn't get running a little bit. He came back against your lot at Anfield, smashed in a brilliant goal. Should have had a second, but we won't talk about that. But it's just what he gives, Doug. You know what I mean? It's what he gives the rest of the team, his hold-up play, his skill on the ball. He can assist, he can score goals. He's just fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. And yes, he should have had the second goal. But we won't get into that. But what we will get into is obviously your 22-23 season, because fourth place, which is magnificent, 71 points. And you also made a cup final for the first time in a long, long time, that has to be said. And you are back in the UEFA Champions League. Now, one of the questions I want to ask is, I know a lot of people, me, myself included, that have the Newcastle sort of top half finish. I think that was the sort of the main sort of expectations, is to sort of have a top half finish and then build on.
Yeah.
But you've exceeded that with being back in the Champions League. How impressed have you been with this season, and what were your expectations at the start of the season?
I think expectations, if I recall back to doing predictions on our channel, it was, I think a lot of people were suggesting maybe 6th, 7th. I was kind of looking at 8th because I thought, from what the new owners had been saying, it's going to be slow and steady progress. We're not going to rush anything. We're going to do things properly, which they have. They didn't bring in the massive names that maybe we thought we were going to get early doors. They've scouted the players, they've done the due diligence on them, and they've come in and been a real success. But I think realistically, we expected being in the top half, around about 7th or 8th, and then kick on again this coming season. But from the start, I think, the way Eddie's got his players working is that we just press. We press. The opposition tries to play the ball out from the back. We press them. They make mistakes. We capitalize on those mistakes. It went a bit skew-whiff in the build-up to the cup final. I think once we got into, during the, quarter-final, semi-final of the Carabao, we lost a little bit of form. We lost a little bit of momentum. Now, I don't know whether it was the cup run that took that away from us, because as soon as the cup final was out the way, we picked up again. Which is understandable because the club hasn't been around cup finals for a long time. And I think, that obviously took over a lot of the momentum in the players' heads and in the fans' heads as well. But if you'd have told us at the start of the season that Newcastle United would be in a cup final and finishing 4th in the table, we'd have laughed at you, to be honest, because we just didn't expect that. We knew under Eddie that we'd improve. There's no doubt about that. But to get where we have, a lot has to go down to the manager because he is just incredible. I think there was a poll on Twitter a few weeks ago saying, would we take Guardiola over Eddie Howe? And I think 61% said no, not at the moment we wouldn't. I mean, don't get me wrong. If Eddie wasn't there at Newcastle, I would love Pep Guardiola at Newcastle without a shadow of a doubt. Eddie's done nothing wrong. All Eddie's done is just continually improved us. He's given us a cup final, which was a memorable day. Despite the fact, we didn't play too well, we should have done better. But the whole experience for the fans, being around Wembley Way, and the Man United fans ruined it for us after the game. But before the game, the build-up was incredible. The fan zones, just being around Wembley itself. I played ice hockey a lot at Wembley Arena back in the sort of 90s and that. And then seeing Wembley now to what it was, it's just a completely different environment. It really is. It's a fabulous place to go and watch a football game.
No, it really was. And I was I was obviously hoping you guys obviously win the League Cup as well. But you guys have had some memorable games. What is your favourite game this season at St James's, if you had to pick one?
Oh, well, there's only one, mate. There's only one, the 6-1 over Tottenham. I have never, ever experienced a game like that. Never experienced it. 5-0 up in 20 minutes against, at the time, they were our Champions League rivals for 4th place because you guys hadn't made that late run yet. And, Man United were floating around as well. So everybody was saying Man United finished 3rd. It's going to be between Tottenham and Newcastle. It didn't turn out that way. Because obviously Liverpool came through late. But to be 5-0 up against Tottenham with players like they have in their team at the time, Kane, Son, etc., to blow them away like that was incredible, Doug. Honestly, it just blew my mind, and it just stands up there as one of the best I've seen for many, many years at St James's.
I can remember Liverpool being 4-0 up against Arsenal after 20 minutes. I've never ever seen a team be 5-0 up. And look, some of the goals he scored that day were absolutely amazing. And Jacob Murphy's first one, I think, that just went sailing into the back of the net. I mean, Lloris has just literally stood there, just watches it pass them.
Well, that's what makes the game so special, Doug. It wasn't just the scoreline; it was the goals that we scored. They weren't just little tap-ins. You look at Jacob Murphy's. He scored twice. He got the ball rolling, then he scored that 30-yard screamer. You look at Isak's goal with a beautiful ball from Joe Willock on the outside of his right foot, just sliced the defence wide open. Fabian Schär's ball over the top for Joe Linton. Joe Linton's beautiful control and then rounded Lloris and scored. There weren't just simple goals. There were some beautiful goals in that, which made the game even better.
Oh, 100%. I mean,
and it was great seeing Harry Kane cry, of course. I mean, it's just, that has its bonus as well.
Oh, of course, and obviously being back in a cup final, which is every Newcastle United fan's dream. I know. Obviously, you didn't win it, but I think that's now obviously the next step to obviously go and win a cup final. But that cup final, I felt if you maybe had Nick Pope, I think you may potentially maybe won that. I know that's been a little bit sort of harsh to obviously like Loris Karius in this bit. I thought Newcastle played really well on the day. It was just United were just a little bit too clinical.
It was the final third, Doug, where we struggled, I think. I mean, Karius didn't worry me. I wasn't one of these people that was worried about Karius playing. Because I think a lot of people just focus on that Champions League final for Karius. They don't understand how good he was during the season. Because even Liverpool fans have said that. That current season he was excellent for you. So I believe in that final he was concussed with that clash with Ramos. I think he was out of it. I don't think that's what, in my opinion, happened. However, I wasn't worried about him. I was a little bit disappointed Isak didn't start the game because I think had he started, he offered more of a threat in the second half. We started the game well. Maximin looked good on the left. He had a couple of opportunities early doors. Man United got a couple of quick goals, and I think that just sort of knocked us a little bit. Second half, we came back at them, but we just failed in that final third. But like I said, we weren't playing well at that time. The build up to that game, we weren't playing very well. And once the cup final was over, suddenly our form, picked up again. We started getting results, which was strange. But I think it's good for this season, next season and future seasons with these group of players, because we've got some young players in there who are very experienced now and can take the club forward. Obviously we'll get some signings in, but they can take the club forward. We've got a spine there with Nick Pope. We've got Botman there. Schär's probably still got a couple of years left in him. Probably go for another centre-back though. We've got Bruno in the middle of the park, and we've got Wilson, Isak, etc. up front. So we've got a spine there. But it just didn't quite gel in the cup final. But as I say, for us to be there was just an achievement anyway, considering the season before we were struggling against relegation.
100%. And I suppose the biggest thing is being back in the Champions League, the first time since 2002, 2003. How does it feel to be back in the Champions League?
Incredible. It's still, I don't think it's quite sunk in yet with everybody because, they've recently released the new replica shirt and the Champions League badge. People are getting on and things like that. But I think it's that first game at St. James's Park, which will just realise where we've come from to where we are now. We hear the Champions League theme, and then it will really sink in. We are here. The draw will be very interesting for us as well to see who we get. Quite frankly, I'm not really bothered who we get. We're in the Champions League, and a lot of people have written us off in the Champions League already, but you never know. You just never know. And I think it's a monumental achievement because nobody predicted us top four, and to go and do it against all the odds and against all the punters and these pundits and things like that who've written us off many times through the season, it just puts a little smile on your face.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was actually my next question. Why is there a sort of a hatred towards Newcastle United from journalists, pundits, etc.? Like, I don't understand it.
I don't know. I mean, there's been so many run-ins with different pundits this season and some supporters of various clubs, which I don't understand. Now, Man United fans, they're a different breed. I don't care at all about Manchester United. I hate that football club with a passion. But I do know some Man United supporters who are decent people and have wished Newcastle well. But then, I look back to the cup final, and after the cup final, the Man United fans coming out the ground trying to cause trouble with us. My 14-year-old daughter verbally abused in a horrendous way. It's just wrong, and I don't quite understand that. But pundits, I just don't get. I don't get why they come out with such dross at times about Newcastle United. Look, the new ownership was always going to be controversial. That's a fact because of human rights. But there's human rights dug in every single country in the world. There's human rights problems, right? We all know that. But from a football perspective, we can't do anything about that. That's up to higher people up in politics to deal with that kind of thing. But what I will say is Newcastle have had 2 trips, I believe, over to Saudi, and it's been absolutely incredible. The fans have gone over and been welcomed with open arms. They've had a magical time. And yes, we know there's problems over there. But what we're hoping is, people looking in from here is that the venture with Newcastle United will maybe open their eyes up to sorting their problems out, seeing how we live and things like that. But at the end of the day, that's their rules. And who are we to change rules in different countries? You know what I mean? Whether we agree with them or not, we know there's issues. But I think that's what generates a lot of the hatred. And of course, the money. But the money thing I don't understand either, Doug, is because we haven't spent what people thought we were going to spend. Like I said earlier on in the show, we spent really wisely. We've got out, we only spent 10 million on Nick Pope. I think Bruno was 35. Yes, Isak was 60. He's been the biggest signing so far. But, we brought Dan Burn in from Brighton. Nobody expected that. And the majority of that starting 11 was under Steve Bruce as well. So I don't get where they're coming from that, that the oil money and all this kind of crap comes forward. It'll never go away. Man City still get it. But then you look at Man United about to be taken over by the Qataris and suddenly they're all for it. Yet, our takeover, they did everything they could for it not to go through. It's hypocritical. It's terrible. But that's never going to go away.
No, it isn't. And you're absolutely right when it comes to Manchester United, like the Qataris. Like, basically, I've seen a lot of Man United fans be for it, and I've seen a lot of Man United fans say, "Oh, I don't want to be state-owned." So, I just think you guys have spent money wisely. I look at the team you've got: Nick Pope, fantastic signing from Burnley, Premier League proven, very, very good. Sven Botman, arguably one of the defenders of the season for me. He's been fabulous. Yeah. Isaac, 60 million quid. Now he's probably worth double that. the way that he's been played as well.
You look at the first signing of the takeover, Kieran Trippier. Now, when he
Mm-hmm.
signed, the likes of Simon Jordan, Agbonleh, crap, came out with a load of bollocks about, he's only come for the money. Well, he put that right by when he had that interview on High Performance not long ago with Jake Humphrey, and he said that he took a pay cut to come to Newcastle because he wanted to come back into the Premier League and he wanted to be part of a project. He's been sensational. We criticise sometimes on his deliveries, his set pieces. Sometimes we want to mix it up a little bit. But his leadership and his experience has been incredibly vital for us this season. And, he didn't cost an arm and a leg either. So it's the scouting network that we have now is brilliant. We're signing kids up. We've just signed another one yesterday who's gone on loan to Feyenoord for the season just so we can get the work permit sorted out. We're doing things properly, Doug. We've signed a lot of youngsters to come into the academy. Garang Kuol from Australia. Everything is being done properly because we know that there's always going to be that question hanging over Newcastle by the pundits, etc., and by the Premier League. They'll always be watching, thinking, one little move over FFP and we're on you. So we are always aware of that, despite the fact Chelsea and Forest or whoever it may be can go and spend millions and millions of pounds, which is, it baffles me.
And the other thing that really baffles me as well is this sort of agenda that players won't want to come to Newcastle because it's the northeast. All of the rubbish.
Well, listen, mate, you live in Scotland. We Northerners, we get it in the neck all the time. My kids have just been to Lossiemouth with their mum and for a holiday a week away, and they've had a fantastic time. People don't realise how beautiful the north is. You look at the northeast and Northumberland coastline is just a wonderful place especially in the summer. Scotland is beautiful. As you know, I've been up there with my son a few times on the train because he likes going up there, and he just loves the Scottish people. He loves being around them, and it's really friendly. We've never had a pick a bother up there every time we go. And I think when you get people like Agbonleh saying, the players would rather stay in London. Yes, London is the capital. It's cosmopolitan. But there's a lot of changes going on in the northeast. You look at Newcastle as a city now, and it's very modern. Yes, we've got some historical things there, but it's a very modern city now. And players, even previous players who used to play for us, still live there. Still live up here. And they've got that bug. And it annoys me because we in the north always get kicked in the teeth. And I'm not just talking about Newcastle, the whole area. It's shocking sometimes. Sunderland is a city, I went to pick my daughter up there after watching Pink on Sunday night. And I'm looking at all the new build there. They're building all these modern buildings and things like that. It's happening. And players will tell you that when they come up here and they play here, it's a wonderful place to live. And it just really pees me off when everything's about the south. It's always about the south. And, we up here get forgotten about. But that's not going to happen now because Newcastle are going to be a global brand and it will be fantastic for the north.
Well said indeed. Well said. Yes, absolutely. The north is a fantastic area of the country to stay in.
It's the friendliest place in the world, Doug. Nobody can tell me otherwise. The northeast, Scotland, all that area. There's just some wonderful, friendly people. You can just talk to anyone. You can have a great time, and it's just. I wouldn't live anywhere else now. No way. Even if I was a millionaire, I'd still buy somewhere in the north. No doubt about it. It pees me off, and I know it pees everybody off who lives up here because the southern bias sometimes is just bollocks.
Yeah, 100%. So going into next season, positions to strengthen this summer.
I think the main goal is a left back. I think that is an issue for us. I think, Jamal Lewis hasn't worked for whatever reason. I think Steve Bruce knocked every bit of confidence out of that kid when he signed. I watched him a few times at Norwich. He's just never been the same player. Doesn't seem to get involved now. So a left back, certain. Dan Burn's done a great job, but is he a Champions League left back? I'm not so certain. But he's still going to be around the squad. They're looking obviously at Maddison. We've heard a lot of Maddison in the last few days saying we are winning the race to sign him. I think Maddison's been quoted as saying he would love to play for us. And if you look at the two teams who were involved, Newcastle, Spurs, what can Spurs offer him next season? Nothing. They've got a rebuild on. They're not even in Europe. We know his desire to play in the Champions League. And he just seems like a Newcastle United player. I've been a fan of Maddison for years, and I'd love to see him sign. Szoboszlai at Leipzig is somebody that we're looking at as well. He's on the right-hand side. I would definitely want to improve that. There's been a big argument about Miggy Almiron this season. Is he all that? He went through a really purple patch where he was scoring goals, but then the back end of the season he disappeared again. I think we need to improve on the right-hand side. Left-hand side, nobody knows what's happening with St. Maximan. He put something on Instagram the other week, which was, again, very cryptic, but it seemed to be a goodbye. So I think the midfield at the minute, the way we stand, is really good. If Maddison comes in, another midfielder who can also play on the right, he's very versatile there. But we don't need to spend millions. We've got a good set, we've got a good squad there. But what we need, Doug, is a deeper squad. So when we're playing all these games that we're playing next season, we can replace quality with quality instead of replacing quality with average, mediocre. We need to have that squad built up with absolute quality. So that's probably more important than filling various positions. But left back for me would be a big one.
Left back. I have to say, Dan Burn has done a fantastic job. I didn't actually realise he's got 3 fingers on one of his hands, isn't he?
Yeah, he lost a finger. Yeah, not many people realised that, and I think some Newcastle fans last season, when they were seeing close-ups of him, they were quite shocked. I mean, I knew that when he was at Brighton anyway, but some Newcastle fans got a shock. But he's done well. He's done a job, and that's all we can ask him to do. He's done his job. But he's not one of these power left backs that'll bomb forward and link up with the left-sided player and whip balls into the box. Dan Burn's not that. That's what we need. Trippier can do it down the right-hand side, but we don't have that person on the left.
Yeah, 100%. And finally, hopes for the new season.
Wow, where do you go with hopes for the season? I want to see us compete again in the cups. I'd love another cup run. Maintain our position in the league. I think a lot of people have said now we're in the top 4 with the backing that we have. Newcastle should be around the top 4 now every season, which I expect us to be. That's not being big-headed. That's just saying we're there now, and the owners will do all they can to make sure we stay there. We've got a fantastic manager, a fantastic number 2. Howe and Tyndall are just an incredible partnership who the fans absolutely adore. He's got us playing some fantastic football that we haven't seen for so long. Even under Rafa, it was a bit negative tactics, You'll know with how Rafa plays. But Eddie Howe is sort of in the mantle with Keegan, that going forward, attacking football. He plays the right way. And everybody said about Eddie when he came in that he couldn't sort out the defence. Well, I'm sorry. You look at our record last season and see if he sorted out a defence. He's got the right people around him. He's got the right staff in. The owners have brought the right people in, such as Dan Ashworth, brilliant from getting him from Brighton. Darren Eales over from Atlanta in America. It's all working. And all I want to see next season is continue the progress, continue the fight in the league. Champions League, I don't know what to expect. It depends who we sign, to be honest, as to where we go in the Champions League. But listen, it's an adventure, isn't it? It's something that we've wanted for a long time. We've got it now, and we are just so excited to be in it. Where we go in it, hell knows. But it's just the fact that we're there, and that will always be precedent upon sort of trying to win it next season, because that's not even in our thoughts. That's the fact that we're there that's the first step.
Yeah, 100%. Paul, it's been an absolute pleasure to get you on the channel and
You're welcome,
talk about obviously Newcastle. But guys, if you don't know, Paul does have a magnificent YouTube channel. Just hit 20k. I mean, that is amazing. I remember when you started. I remember when you started. I think that was I just came across your channel one day, and I just watched, and it has grown very, very much. But for people who don't know, let us know about the Toon review.
It's like I say, to hit 20K, Doug, was just monumental for us. And for me personally, starting out, the couple of years ago that I did on just sitting with a mobile phone and mainly screaming into it, complaining about, managers and the form and the relegation battles that we had every bloody season. It's taken off. Obviously, I've known you for a good while now. So you have, you've made appearances for quite some time on the channel now. So it's nice that we've grown. We class ourselves as a real family channel. We've got a wonderful subscribers. When we go live, the chat is always hilarious. We've had our issues with trolls. They always try and spoil it, but they never will. You get that, and the higher you grow, Doug, they'll be there to shoot you down as well, as they always are. But it's not just that. It's the community that we have on the channel. I've brought in young Jack now as a sort of apprentice host. He's got his own channel, but he stands in for me when I'm not around or can't do the shows. Billy and Alex are just incredible. They're like brothers to me, them two. Now, we've grown the channel, especially in the last year. But to get over 2,500 subscribers in the last 2 months is pretty incredible. We try and do the right thing. We try and keep things good on the channel. And like I say, we've got a great backroom staff of designers and mods and things like that who do remarkable jobs for the channel. But like I said, the viewers make it all. It's just when we do lives, it's just great because you feel like you know everybody, despite the fact that being 1,000, 2,000 on a live show sometimes, and the chat's flying by, you still recognize the usual names and things. And it's brilliant. And doing this full time and talking about football and things like that, the team you love, it's incredible. It really is. And we just hope that we can keep growing.
Yeah, 100%. Guys, thank you very much for watching. Please do hit a like and do hit the subscribe button on my channel and Paul's amazing channel, the Toon Review. And it's the only way is up for Newcastle fans. And Newcastle fans, let us know your thoughts in the comment section down below. But thank you very much for watching, and I'll be back with some more very, very soon. Take care. Bye-bye for now.